Okay, I think we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Insider webinar. My name is Alan Vincent. I'm from RMB, and I'm here with my co-host, Fabien Legal from PCL. Couple of things to note before we get started. We are recording this session, and recordings will be made available to all of the attendees at the end of today, along with a slideshow of the slides. If you have any questions today and you want to write them down for us to tackle at the Q&A at the end, there is a Q&A box within Zoom. Would you please use that rather than using chat, and then we can address each question individually. Depending on the time, we'll also possibly open up the microphones later on, and we can address your questions on a one-to-one verbally as well. Okay, so this is a webinar on why France is the best gateway to import into the EU market. As I said, I'm here with my friend and our partner, PCL. Fabien Legal is the owner of PCL. Fabien, if you want to just have a quick introduction to yourself.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Alan. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Fabien Legal. I'm French, as you can probably hear. So I'm the owner of PCL, so I'm a partner of RMB. PCL is a French custom broker, so we're based in France in several locations. We're bilingual, try to remember my English studies, basically, and we're able to do clearances, both imports, exports, T1, different regime 40, regime 42 on the import side. We'll explain later with Alan. And we custom clear all type of cargo and essentially specialized in product of animal origin. So we can also accompany your companies, basically if there is CVEP inspections in France, and we do operate on a 24/7 basis, which is a real differentiator from our competitors who are basically closed at nights and over the weekends. All the details can be found on our website, obviously.
Okay, great. And we'll hear more from Fabien later as we touch on more of the customs side of the operations. From our perspective, RMB, we have been advising companies based outside of France for over 40 years. The things that we're going to be talking about today, the different tax regimes, delivering DDP, we've been advising companies on that for a very long time. It's only the fact that we're concentrating on the UK recently because the UK is recently not in Europe anymore. These things that we're talking about didn't affect the UK pre-Brexit. But we've got 30 employees, nearly 1,000 customers all over the world. And to give you some idea, the 2.8 billion euros of transactions we reported to the national tax authorities, to give you an idea, in the past 6 months alone, just in France, just on what's called regime 40, we've processed nearly 50 million euros worth of VAT just in the past 6 months. So we are absolutely experts in our field, and we've been doing this a long time. And we specialize in VAT registration and compliance right across Europe and overall VAT consultancies. We do have a dedicated Brexit team. As you can imagine, that was really important to us when Brexit happened. And what our goal is for UK companies to be able to export as if Brexit never happened. And we have a solution for that, the DDP solution for that, which works really well and is working really well. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the main question is, why France? Well, for lots of reasons. The first one is the smart border. Now, it's the only smart border we've got, and it's working phenomenally well. It's working better than we could have ever expected, which is an amazing thing to say about anything that's Brexit related. But it is a fully automated and digitalized process. So what that means to you is that your goods can cross the border without having to stop. Your goods will clear customs as they cross the water, whether that's on the train or on the ferry. And when they land in France, those goods are customs cleared, your import VAT is taken care of, which we'll talk about later, and those goods are then in free circulation to be delivered anywhere in the EU. So now we're talking about just like it was before Brexit. The goal is get your goods into the EU as quickly and as cost effectively as possible, have them cleared, have them in free circulation, be able to deliver them anywhere you want with no further VAT and no further customs checks. Again, just like it was pre-Brexit. So those goods, that all happens while they cross the channel. That's less than an hour. That means once they're in free circulation, you don't need a T1 to transport those goods to another country to clear the customs in that country. The need of T1s is negated in this scenario. I've got great news for you. You don't need to use them anymore. All right. So the smart border, certainly reason one as to why France is a great point of entry. This is a bit more detailed of what actually happens, and I'll bring Fabien into this as we go. But if you start on the left here at logistics envelope, that's where you are telling your export broker everything that you're shipping on that truck. And even if those goods are going to different customers, they can all be put into one envelope for the sake of customs. As you go through numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's all UK exports. So that's your border controls, HMRC, notifying them about what you're taking out of the country. So in that, you'll be dealing with your UK export broker. On your commercial invoices, on your sales invoices, it will be your GB VAT number and your GB EORI number, because that EORI number will get your goods out of the country. As your goods get on the ship or the train, then we've got to involve the declarant, and this is where Fabien comes in. Fabien will be your import broker on the French side, and will be the declarant. He will have been notified by your UK export broker, the barcode, and here's where you jump in, Fabien, if I get any of this wrong, but your driver gets a barcode as they leave your facility, and that barcode also gets given to Fabien. That barcode gets scanned to get on the ferry or the train, and it's that information that we use to do the declaration and to clear the goods.
So basically, to jump on what Alan has been telling, which is fully right, fully appropriate. When the barcode is scanned, basically outbound UK in the port of Dover, there is automatically on the import side, we do get a message, and the French customs authorities get the message that this very truck is about to leave the UK to enter the European Union in France, in Calais, in Dunkirk, whether it is on the ferry or Eurotunnel, and then starts the analysis of the French customs authorities. They're going to check all the documentation to see if it's right, and they're going to decide whether it is going to go on the green line, which is, okay, no problem, the truck can go through upon its arrival, or it will get an orange line, but we're going to speak about it in a later slide, and then he has to stop for several reasons that we're going to tell. So basically, this is where the smart border is trying to be very smart and very efficient, is like once you get the barcode and the import clearance from us and the logistic envelope on number 0 on this slide is created, everything should go well, and it goes well in 99% of the cases. So it is a good way, the smart border, to have your trucks not being stopped and run smoothly as before the Brexit, existed, as Alan was telling you.
Yeah, perfect. So as we look at it, the paperwork is given, as I say, to the driver before departure. Barcodes are scanned, and then on the train or on the ferry, the driver will have sight of this screen, and this screen will tell the driver whether that truck needs to go in the green lane, and therefore doesn't stop when in the port of Calais or Dunkirk, goes straight on to the final destination, or the orange lane, and there's some kind of check. Now, as Fabien rightly said, at the moment, the number of trucks going through into the green lane is at 99.3%. Those are stats that we get from the port of Calais. And trucks that are going in the orange lane for a check, the average time for that check and for those trucks to be on the way is about 1.5 to 2 hours. So your transit times, even if there is a stop for whatever reason, transit times aren't affected that badly. which is absolutely phenomenal news. And as I say, it is working so smoothly. It's almost, we almost can't believe it. We can't believe that this was how it was supposed to work, and this is exactly how it's working. It's been fantastic.
To go into details, if your driver or the hauliers driver got an orange line, and we are being advised as PCL by the French customs authorities that there will be an orange line, we will be having discussions with them while the truck is still on the ferry, and we may be able to fix it before its arrival. So this is how we try to improve the 99.3% of validations, basically.
Excellent, brilliant. So UK side, authorities scan the import barcode. The smart border, green lane or orange lane. Orange lane will be typically sanitary, veterinary or phytosanitary checks, or a clearance needs to be validated manually. But it really is that simple.
So to get the orange light and then go to the orange lane, there can be several possibilities. First one could be a technical issue, IT technical issue. So, it's an orange line, but as we said, it's like 0.00% chance. Then all the trucks who have a product of animal origins, they have to stop at the CVEP. So obviously it will be orange line every time. And then PCL, we will do the coordination. So we will ask from you guys to let us know the ETA of the truck so we can book a meeting with the CVEP. The truck will arrive, it will be taken care of by our team, and we'll take the documents, we'll bring them to the CVEP, and the same after the CVEP checks, physical check, we go back and we will validate manually the clearance, so the truck will be free to go. And it is very important for us to get the information on, the timing of the crossing and the ETA, so we can coordinate the best for you to have the smoothest, traversée, sorry for my English, the less
crossing through this crossing, yeah. So minimize any kind of time delays at all. Yeah,
that's it.
Perfect. Okay, so first thing, smart border, working phenomenally well, is exceeding our expectations, and 99% of the time trucks don't get stopped. Second reason, well, France geographically is the closest to us. France has worked really hard and spent a lot of money, €1 billion, in fact, on the port of Calais, and tried to make itself the most attractive destination for importers into the EU. There's 160 daily crossings between the Eurotunnel and the port of Calais, 12 from Dunkirk to Dover. And
on this one, sorry, Alan, to interrupt. On this one, if you compare with the French main port, which is Le Havre, there are 2 crossings every 2 days only. So that's why Calais is really the best option with so many crossings.
Yeah, really. Just gives you so many opportunities to get your goods across.
As well, the customs authorities in Calais, they do work 24/7. Mm-hmm. So if your truck arrives on the weekend or at night, it will be taken care of, which is not the case in other ports in France.
Perfect. So yeah, you add into that the availability of crossings, the distance, so the time, obviously the time, transit times vastly reduced, therefore costs vastly reduced, and substantial easement by the French government regarding VAT. And you won't need to deal with any other customs authorities anywhere in the EU, or any other VAT authorities anywhere in the EU either. So you only have to deal with one set of authorities. It's very close, and there's loads of crossings available to you, and there's a 99.3% chance that your truck isn't going to stop, and no transit time delay at all. All looking really good so far. In all of that, then you've got the option of how you deliver your goods to your European customers. Now, pre-Brexit, pretty much everybody delivered on a DDP basis, delivery duty paid basis. Means that you took care of any customs duties and any VAT all the way to your customer's doorstep. Now, the other option, I guess, other options you could have DAP, where you would go the first half, you would get the goods out of the UK, and you'd leave your European customer to deal with your import VAT and the duties. So you'd split it half and half. You could go X Works, where your European customer picks it up from your location and deals with everything all the way to their doorstep. But in our experience, most European customers, and I'm sure you'll have found this yourself, would prefer the UK exporter to deal with everything all the way to their door. So they're receiving their goods for the price they paid, and there's no further burden of administration or fiscal responsibility on them for receiving those goods. In that case, it's DDP. You are responsible for getting the goods out of the country. You're responsible for getting the goods into the EU via France. You're responsible for the import duties, if there are any, depending on the origin of goods, and you're responsible for the import VAT, which there will be no matter what the goods are. It will always attract import VAT, because import VAT and sales VAT are two separate things. So you're responsible for the import VAT all the way to the buyer's door, and that's delivery duty paid. Easily the best Incoterm, and something we should promote a lot more to our UK clients. So your clients purchase goods that are in free circulation, as if you were in the EU already, and they're not involved in the customs process at all, and you keep full control of that supply chain all the way down the line. Now, because France has a reciprocal tax agreement with the UK, and they have whitelisted UK companies, it means that you do not need to set up an entity in France in order to benefit from all of this. So you don't need a company, you don't need to set up an entity. All you need to do, again, because of this reciprocal tax agreement, as a UK company, you can own a French VAT number, and you can put that import VAT through that French VAT number. Now, at the start of this year, the reverse charge mechanism in France, or postponed VAT accounting, was made mandatory. This has been available to companies outside of France since 2016, but this year it's been made mandatory, which means that in order to import into France, you have to have a French VAT number. You've got to use one, no question or doubt. You can't physically pay your import VAT to anyone and then claim it back like you used to be able to even 12 months ago. You've got to declare it on a VAT return and have it reverse charged. Now, the good thing for you is that that's great, because there's no cash flow anymore. You don't have to pay out money and wait 6 months to get it back. So there's no VAT to pay on entry into France. You do have to declare it, but there's none to pay. Because of EU rules and French rules, you also don't charge your customers sales VAT in Europe. So there's no VAT to collect on your sales. Therefore, no VAT to pay. Therefore, no VAT to get refunded. So VAT in this instance is completely negated, if you will. It's just, and it always has been, a tracking tool for goods that go between economies. It was introduced in the late 50s by the French, I believe, as a tracking tool. And it was always supposed to be net zero for businesses. So we're now in a position where we've got a solution where you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to wait to claim it back. So your cash flow isn't affected. Again, back to this reciprocal agreement and this white labeling from France, it also means that unlike some other EU countries, I'm thinking the Netherlands, for example, you don't have to put a bank guarantee down with the French authorities for having this solution in France. If you go and try and do this solution in the Netherlands, you'll have to put a bank guarantee down. I think it's 5% of your predicted annual turnover in Europe. So you'll have to put that down with the Dutch authorities and leave it sat there in case you don't pay your bills. And I believe it's sat there for a number of years after you deregister as well. So you're waving goodbye to that money for quite a long time. In France, that's not necessary. It's also, in France, it's not necessary to have full fiscal representation. It is advised that you have a VAT agent, RMB Boulanger, that's where we come into play. But a full fiscal representative would be responsible for all of your fiscal liabilities all across Europe. That's exactly what you have to do in the Netherlands, but you don't have to do it in France. So again, cost saving for you there, a simpler solution. And again, all because of that, business-to-business sales in the EU, wherever they are in the EU, are exempt of VAT, so no need to charge it. So why is this a good solution? So we've got France they've worked really hard on being a gateway. We've got a smart border. We've got a reciprocal tax agreement, which means we can export as if it was pre-Brexit. RMB solution, where we come in, is because you are the importer of record, you're the exporter of record, and your company is the importer of record. All of the customs and VAT burden is taken away from your clients. So it's back to, it's just like Brexit didn't happen. With one single VAT number in France, you can supply goods in France and anywhere else in the EU. You can even purchase goods in the EU and have them delivered to a different EU country using your French VAT number, because there's a triangulation option as well, which a lot of companies don't know about, but can really benefit some companies. So it's all about giving you control and you being able to look after your customers like you used to, taking the burden of responsibility off there. I've even had some clients take that burden of responsibility off their European clients, but justify a price increase because they're taking that time and cost away from them, justify a price increase, and the cost of the UK company dealing with that customs duties and VAT is less than the price increase gives them, so they improve their bottom line whilst looking after their customers better. So there's loads of options. I mean, we can talk about the details of your particular situation and see if that's applicable. But there are loads of options to make it better for you and make it better for them, and everyone comes out a winner. We do have a dedicated Brexit team. As I said, we work in close partnership with Fabien and PCL, and the communication between the companies is a real strong point for us. It's a real strength, and it has to be, because it means that when we do your VAT return for you, it means that VAT return is going in perfect, month on month. We work really hard to make sure there are no discrepancies. If you can think about it, when we're dealing with your VAT return, we'll have 3 pieces of information. We'll have the information that you give us on, we've sent £10,000 worth of goods into the EU to these 3 customers. We'll have the information that Fabien gives us that says this £10,000 worth of goods to these 3 customers has landed in France and has been cleared. And then we'll have the information from the tax authorities, because the import VAT that £10,000 worth of goods attracts is automatically injected into your VAT return. So we've now got 3 pieces of data that we can check, reconcile with each other, make sure it's all correct, and then we do your VAT filing for you. And because you've got a dedicated account manager at your disposal, if there is a mistake, if there's a decimal place in the wrong place, if there's a line looks like it's missing, we get to pick up the phone to you and say, can we fix this before we submit this VAT filing for this month? Because it's in our best interests. Mercenarily, it's in our best interest to only do the job once. If we've got to fix a problem 6 months down the line, we're doing the job twice, and that's costing us money, not you. So it's in our best interest to make sure that the data reporting all the way down the line is pristine. And because of that, and because we work really hard on that, we are very, very successful at what we do. As Fabien said, in case of animal origin products, we can provide immediate assistance, communicate with both the customs and the fiscal authorities. And I know that you work really well on that, Fabien. You're saying that you can almost preempt any problems whilst the goods are crossing the water, can't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah, this is where we try to make a difference, is whenever one of our clients gets an orange line, and it was not supposed to be orange, unless it is CBAP checked, you know, then we are looking and we are contacting the French customs authorities and say, okay, guys, we provided you with all the documents. What do you want to check? Did you get all the documents? Do you have any questions? And we try to communicate as soon as possible. If they have any questions that we are not able to reply, we're going to ask you, the exporters, say, okay, they want an extra document, they want a clarification on this or on that, and then we provide them with a reply. And in most cases, I would say 99% of the cases, the orange line becomes a green light again. So the fact for you not to lose any time, it is very important, and I would insist on that, because our proactivity will save you money, basically, because a truck which is stuck is going to charge you about £75 an hour. So
oh, really? Right.
yeah, it is. That's why we do coordinate. You know, the sooner the better. But we try to coordinate, yes, very quickly with the French authorities. Same with the CVEP. That's why we ask you the ETA, the time of arrival of the truck, so we can coordinate and get you basically the first meeting with CVEP, which is available. So being proactive really saves you a lot of money at the end of the day. That's
perfect.
And also thinking about your clients' happiness, because if your clients are happy, you're going to be happy, and we will be happy as well.
Yeah.
To have a truck arriving on time with absolutely no problem, and I'm only talking about the custom side, then you will have your clients being very glad and wants to continue and grow the business with you guys. And especially if you do DDP and you are handling all this logistics part and VAT issues, non-issues anymore, thanks to RMB.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important to stress that once the import VAT is taken care of, you have no further tax implications in the EU because you don't have an entity in the EU. All of your corporation tax on profits, all of that remains in the UK because you are a UK company and you remain so. It's just the VAT that you're dealing with in France and therefore in the rest of Europe. So why France? We've got a smart border. We're closer. We've got a reciprocal tax agreement. The compliance costs are one of the lowest in Europe. And the route out of northern France, the logistic route, both road and rail, is phenomenal. It's really strong. So as a point of entry into the EU, it makes all the sense in the world to use France because France has worked so hard to make itself so attractive. So how do we do it? How do we start? The first thing you're going to need is a European EORI number.
1 point, sorry, on one.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, in terms of clearances, as Alan mentioned, because you clear the goods in France means, and going back onto the first slide, which said no T1 anymore. Basically, your goods are free to go. So once they clear in Calais or in Dunkirk, there will be no further custom checks on the route to Germany or to, the Netherlands, Spain, Poland, any other EU countries. So in terms of risk management, you're going to centralize all the risk, all the operations in one point in Europe, which will be the first point of entry, which will be north of France. And then you can, feel relaxed because your goods went through customs. Your VAT has been taken care of by RMB, and then all goods are good to go. So it's also another argument in favor of,
Absolutely agreed, Fabio. And that's a big thing for delays as well, isn't it? Because we've heard lots of times when people are using T1s that they'll go to another country, but there'll be a massive delay at customs there because for whatever reason, and it might be a weekend, truck might have turned up at Friday at 4 o'clock and everyone's gone home or whatever it may be. So you're dealing with everything somewhere that works 24/7 and not risking any delays further down the line with different customs authorities that have different rules, different standards, different whatever else, because it's all been dealt with and it's in free circulation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, really valid point. So how do we do it? First thing you're going to need is a European EORI number. Most, if not all of you, will have a GB EORI number, and that's fine for getting goods out of the country. But in order to get them into Europe, you need a mainland EU EORI number. Now, there was plenty of advice that went around straight after Brexit, some bad advice, some good advice. One of the things that did come out of it was if you've got a Northern Ireland EORI number, an XI EORI number, right now, as of today, it is valid in Europe. So you could use that to get your goods into Europe, no problem. However, word of caution, because the Northern Ireland political landscape is tumultuous at best, because we've got a new PM coming in and we don't know what's going to happen, this advice might not be valid tomorrow. It might all change. That XI number might not be valid in a week, in a month. So it may be that if you're using it right now, you're fine, but it may be that you have to change it. Not too much of a problem because we can get you a European EORI number within 24 hours. All right. And you only need one. Once you've got one, can cover you for all of the EU. Then what we'd suggest is you appoint RMB as your tax representative in France. You don't have to use us. We'd appreciate it if you do. We are very good at what we do. But, you know, next step, appoint somebody as your tax representative. And if you want to chat to me and I can tell you how good we are, then we can do that. What we'll do then is we'll register your company for VAT in France. Now, all share our own global VAT number. Now, this is something that I'll go into more detail in a minute, but if you imagine that when you're importing into France, you must use a French VAT number, you do have two options. One, you can get your own. The second one is you can use an accredited company's what's called a global VAT number. And we are an accredited company. We're accredited to the highest level in France. And a global VAT number is global in the sense that anyone can use it, but it's still a French VAT number. So yeah, you can either clear on your own VAT number, or you can clear on RMB's global VAT number. Now, there are restrictions using our VAT number, and we'll go into more detail in a minute. But you're still clearing on a French VAT number, and that's the point to underline here, is you must clear on a French VAT number. We will prepare your French VAT declarations and file them, and we'll take care of all correspondence on whether it's phone calls or letters on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, whatever it may be, with the French tax authorities. And any issues you have with VAT in the EU with your clients, because they have an issue because they don't think it's correct or they need something explained to them with regard to VAT, we can do that. We've got a multilingual office in Lille, just outside Lille, in France, just close to the Belgian border. And we've got 35 staff there, and we cover most languages in Europe. So having those kind of conversations, even with your clients, with you involved, absolutely not a problem for us at all. Now, I want to take you through a couple of case studies about how this could look for potentially for your business. First one, your company sells only to French businesses, doesn't go outside of France at all. So in that instance, you've got to register for your own French VAT number, and then you get full import VAT deferment on all of those imports. So import VAT is exempted, and any sales to companies in France is also VAT exempt as well, because the French have a rule to say that any companies from a third country can sell domestically in France without charging VAT. And the process is the same. You appoint Fabien as your customs broker in France. You appoint RMB as your tax agent. You mention your own VAT number on your invoices, and we'll report those transactions, both the import and the sale, to the French tax authorities for VAT purposes. If you do have a French VAT number, that will also open up the rest of Europe for you as well. But if you're selling in France, you can only do it through your own French VAT number. Okay? But again, once you've got one, you can go and sell in Austria, Portugal, Poland as well. You're still using your own French VAT number. So that'll be case one. Case two, just to easily move on from that, would be you sell to both French and EU-based clients. Again, registering for VAT in France opens all of that up to you. Now, if I touch on the global VAT number here, if you're selling to EU-based clients not in France, and your French market is maybe small, or your French clients you can put on a DAP solution, because that's what you can do already, or you can put them on hold for a couple of months, then you could use our global VAT number. And this is using a tax regime called Regime 4200. We shorten it to Regime 42, and it might be a term that you've come across before. We can use Regime 42 to clear those goods in France on our VAT return. So you don't, it's not going on your own VAT registration. They go on our VAT return, and those goods must then immediately go from France to another EU member state. And that is one of the restrictions of this regime. Those goods can clear in France, but they can't be sold in France. They've got to be moved immediately to where they're being sold. This is a business-to-business solution. We need a VAT number of the client, of where it's being delivered to, because it's a a VAT number to VAT number transaction. That's how we track it. But it can work really well. It can work really well as a short-term option whilst your French tax number is coming through from the authorities. And a good point to note here is it takes between 2 and 3 months to get a French VAT number. So a lot of companies use the Regime 42 solution as a short-term stopgap until the French VAT number comes through, because once the French VAT number comes through, both France and the rest of the EU is open to you. And the process is exactly the same. You need a customs broker in France. Fabian will help you, absolutely. You need RMB as your tax agent. Again, you mentioned your own French VAT number and your invoices, and we'll do the reporting then of your VAT return and your Intrastat report. Now, your Intrastat report is telling the French authorities, yes, these goods have come into the French economy, but they've been moved to the German economy for sale. So again, it's that tracking of where the goods are going. That flow of goods follows flow of invoices. And this is just a pictorial depiction of how it works. We get goods coming in from the UK into France, clearing in France. The reverse charge on those imports means you don't have to pay any VAT up front. We can then sell for intra-EU deliveries with your French VAT number to companies established within the EU, and you don't need to charge VAT. And if you were to export out of the EU to other countries, then that's doable as well. There's some complications with the export, but that's on a case-by-case basis, which we can talk about. And the last one is, if we take France out of the equation, as in you don't have any customers in France, then you can use Regime 42 alone if you wanted to. You still use France as a point of entry. You still clear the goods in France using the process that we've talked about and we've gone through in detail. There's still no VAT to pay because you're using our VAT number, but you also don't need to register for VAT in France because you're putting the transactions on our VAT number. We become your limited tax representative in France and we take on the VAT liability for you. Again, there are restrictions. The goods have to go from France immediately to another EU member state. You do pay per shipment, not you can't consolidate a multiple load into one declaration. You do have to pay per shipment, and a shipment is defined as a load or part load that has a consignee. So there are restrictions, but it can be a solution that works really well for a number of customers, and it might be that your situation points exactly to this. Once we've had a chat, we can certainly work out what's the best strategy for you. And that's this is Regime 42, in a nutshell. Goods come into France, clear in France, but then are delivered elsewhere in the EU. You are still the exporter of record. You are still the importer of record. We have to name the country of destination. We have to name that Regime 42 is being used. You have to name that we are your limited tax representatives. And then we have to show an EU VAT number for where the goods are going. Go on, Fabian.
Yeah, under Regime 42, when we say that the goods have to leave France quickly, it doesn't mean immediately. For example, if you are using an LTL less than truckload, so for example, 2 pallets, that's a full truck, then it is allowed for the 2 pallets to be discharged, for example, at a distribution center and goes then into Europe. So there's no specific times allowed by the French customs authorities, but 48 to 72 hours is accepted from our experience.
That's absolutely fair, Fabian. I mean, I know we say immediately. I think it's fair to say as quickly as reasonably possible is probably the better phrase to use, isn't it? And as long as that's justifiable, as long as something's not being warehoused for a week, waiting sale, you can't do that. But if it's being transferred, cross-docked or whatever, that's absolutely fine. Perfect. That, in a nutshell, is why France is a great point of entry for UK clients wanting to export their goods into the EU. Geographically the closest, lowest compliance costs, smart border which reduces transit times, reciprocal tax agreement, which means no VAT payable. And once the customs cleared and VAT taken care of, the goods are in free circulation to be delivered anywhere in the EU. Everything points to, why wouldn't you choose France? It really does. And that's how we deliver DDP into our EU clients. Thank you very much for your attention. If you do have any questions, I'm going to just go to the Q&A box, I think, because we've had a couple. So David Cook, currently we clear Poland destination goods in Belgium. There is no excise and therefore import VAT set at 0. Is the same option available in France?
Go
on, Fabian.
Go ahead, Alan, no problem. I wanted to start with the second question from David.
Oh, right, okay. We currently have a Poland EORI number. Do we need a French EORI number when selling in France? Second question, no, you don't. Once you've got a Poland EORI number, you've got one. You only need one EORI number, David, for all of the EU. But you're currently clearing in Belgium. Therefore, so I'm a little confused. There's no excise, so there's no duties, therefore clearly goods of UK origin. But no, the import VAT is set at 0. I'm a little bit unsure about what you mean at that, because as far as we're concerned, all goods entering the EU will attract import VAT. And then it's whether you pay it or whether you declare it. I know that the Belgian authorities are more difficult to deal with than the French authorities. So I suggest we have a chat about that separately. But as we talked about, in France, because if you use a French VAT number, there'll be no import VAT to pay anywhere. It's certainly not set at 0 because it doesn't work that way. It's got to be, it's got to have a value attributed to it, just that you have to declare it, not pay it. Simon Ball has also asked, is there any special work required to get data from the customs portal to check against the VAT return? Probably to go to you, that Fabian. Is there any special work required to get data from the customs portal?
No, not at all. We can, well, there are two options to be clear. Whether, Simon, you have access to the French customs portal, and then you can, which is prodouane.fr, and then you can you can check about the VAT return, or basically we can do it for you, or maybe RMB can do it for you if they are in charge of representing you for the French VAT. So using RMB will prevent you from doing that. Using your own, you can log on and see clearly the report on a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we do, Simon, is we would liaise with your French broker, Fabien, possibly in this instance, to check that that's okay, and we can provide you with that data. So we would do that check for you as part of being your VAT agent. But if you wanted that information, we could make it available to you, no problem.
A question from William.
Yeah.
Do the processes and solutions you've described apply to importers, exporters of medical devices where there are, like goods of animal, plant origin, additional regulations? No, there is no CVEP checks for medical devices. Really, actually, medical devices are considered into the freight forwarding world as general cargo. There is no specific extra regulations. There is no CVEP check. There could be custom checks on a random basis, but not specifically. And currently, at the moment, there is no focus of the French customs authorities on the medical devices, really.
So everything we've talked about applies to medical devices, no problem at all, because they're generally considered as general goods.
Yeah.
Perfect. William, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Some goods are being, a little bit more checked by customs. There is a list of that. As PCL, we are aware, and we do tell our clients that specific products. So I'm going to give an example of, maybe the rice. The rice, for the moment, out of India and Pakistan, there is a 20% chances that it's going to be checked by customs. So we know it can happen. We know it may happen, but for medical devices, absolutely no problem.
Okay. If anybody does have any other questions, please feel free to turn your microphone on and ask verbally as well, if there's something you just want to have a quick check of. Just give you a couple of seconds to have that option if you want. No takers on that. Okay, no problem at all. Then those are our contact details of both myself and Fabien. I am UK based. Yes, we are a French company, but I am UK based. So that's my UK mobile number. Happy to come and see you if it's, physically makes sense for us to come and see you face to face. Fabien, based in France, but available all the time. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Please do get in touch. You will all receive a copy of this slideshow and a recorded copy of this presentation. Please feel free to share that wherever you want, with clients or with work colleagues. And if nobody has any other questions, I see there might be, oh, there we go. There's a couple of extra questions on the Q&A, so we'll just deal with these. So we've got a question. We are currently going via Calais with goods of animal origin, around 10 loads per week. Waiting times are more like 4 hours rather than the 1.5 hours. Could this partly be my current import agent? So Fabien, is there a chance that the import agent maybe assist adding to the delays?
Several possibilities. I'm not going to throw a stone to your current support agent because I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I don't know the reason. For sure, during the summer, because you are talking about product of animal origins, the CVEP, they were a little bit short-staffed. In Calais, there are about 10 people and there were only 6 working. So we knew the delays were going to be a little bit longer. But it was mainly between July the 15th and August the 15th. Today, we do handle like a lot of shipments every day based on PRO, and the waiting time is not that much. So it might come from something else. It could be some products, as I said, that are specifically being checked as well. So we'd be happy to discuss with you and see the products and let you know maybe a little bit more, and also discuss with you privately on how handles your flows actually, and maybe how we can improve, if there is anything we can improve. But to be honest,
certainly worth the conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. To be honest, the average waiting time for our clients is really between 1 and 2 hours, not much. Yeah.
I think it's a valid conversation to have, and if there is anything that Fabien can do to halve that time, then fantastic. Then that, absolutely brilliant. But he will certainly give you advice, which won't cost you anything, as to if there's anything that's happening that can be fixed. So please do drop him a line and get in touch. Joy has asked, we also import from Thailand to Belgium to our third-party warehouse and ship to various customers in the EU. We have an EURI for EU, UK and Northern Ireland. Are there any benefits to import into France as opposed to Belgium? What I would say to you, Joy, is that the French authorities are far easier to deal with than the Belgian authorities. And that's there are various complications with the Belgian authorities that you may or may not have experienced, but that you don't get in France. Again, I would have to talk to you about your specific situation and talk to you about exactly the flow of goods if you are facing any problems, and how they would differ with France and what the cost implication would be. And it might be that we finish that conversation and say, you're in the best position, Joy, there's no point in moving. It might be that there's a decent argument to say, if you moved your operations to northern France, it might be better for you. But without going into detail on exactly what you're doing to where and what the impact of that is, I wouldn't be able to say off the bat. Generally, though, France is easy to deal with than Belgium. The authorities are easy to deal with. And I say that with the Belgian CEO and with the company on the Belgian border. So there's no favoritism in terms of France in that way. But happy to speak to you if you want to have a conversation outside of this, Joy. Okay. Unless there are any other questions, then it's been great to talk to you. although I've not seen your lovely faces on this Tuesday morning, I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week. I will send the webinar and the recording out. We just do a bit of editing on it just to trim the top and tail of it. So we'll get that sent out to you. If not at the end of the day today, then tomorrow morning. And please feel free to phone me, text me, WhatsApp me, email me, whatever method of communication is preferable to you. And I will happily chat away with you about VAT because I love it so much. Thanks for your time, Fabian, as well. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.